Mr. Thompson here. We're looking at Standard 1, the overarching theme of the development of English settlement and colonization during the 17th century. Specifically, we're going to look at Section B of that standard that focuses on the development of the southern colonies. And with those southern colonies, we'll look at the reasons they were established, the impact of the location and place of those southern colonies, their relations with American Indians, and their economic development. So the southern colonies included Maryland, Virginia, Carolina, which eventually split into Northern Carolina, Southern Carolina, and Georgia. Shout out to Georgia. Looking at the location of the southern colonies, they had really rich soil and a long growing season, which of course leads to agricultural development because it was super easy to farm because you got awesome soil and a long growing season. So these southern colonies were super great agricultural producing colonies. They were all like, hey, you need some crops? It's what we got. We got some crops for you. There were also deep rivers, and the distance of the fall line from the coast was pretty far inland. And so this allowed farmers to easily ship their crops like tobacco, indigo, corn, and rice directly from their farms to their European markets. The economic development of the southern colonies really reflected this geological line, this fall line. Subsistence family farms tended to develop north of the fall line. These subsistence farms really just produced what they needed to survive and then had a little bit left over as a small cash crop in case they needed to barter or purchase other goods like salt, gunpowder, lead, and iron tools. However, commercial farms tended to develop south of the fall line and focused on high yield, labor intensive crops such as rice, tobacco, and indigo. So they wanted to produce a lot of it so they could sell it. Because these cash crops were more labor intensive, slave labor was much more common south of the fall line with these commercial farms as opposed to north of the fall line with these subsistence farms. In the southern colonies, relations with American Indians really began as a peaceful coexistence. However, as more and more English colonists arrived and started to move further and further into Native American lands, the relationship started to become more and more violent. That makes sense, right? The natives are like, whoa, are they ever gonna stop coming? And then the English are all like, woo, we made it, we're here. Turns out there were already people on that land. So, of course, lots of tension. As the southern colonies' economic development grew and developed, these complex social interactions between Native Americans and the colonists became more and more difficult. The large-scale cash crops of rice, tobacco, and indigo were proving super profitable in the mercantilist system, so more colonists were coming in seeking economic opportunity in these southern colonies. These colonists were like, I want my piece of this cash crop pie. But there was a big problem because in order to farm, you need land. And who had the land? Native Americans. So this growing English population in the southern colonies led to increased desire for American Indian land in order to farm cash crops. And so, of course, the English were saying, we want your land. The Native Americans obviously want their land. So this would lead to increased tension from both parties. That completes our look at the Southern colonies' development, including their reasons for establishment, the impact of its location and place, their relations with the American Indians, and their economic development.